I went down this rabbit hole yesterday, and I just randomly had this thought in my head. Like, if every starting quarterback in today's NFL career ended today, how many of them would be actual Hall of Famers?
Okay.
Right? So we'll knock off the first two because I think this is even a question mark.
Mm-hmm.
Aaron Rodgers, Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
For sure, right? Aaron Rodgers, 4-time MVP, Super Bowl MVP. Mahomes, 2-time MVP, 3-time Super Bowl MVP, 3-time winner in the Super Bowl.
Come on.
This is where it gets interesting. And I can't wait to hear your guys' perspective, right? Because this next one, a lot of people have brought up, right? And this is a guy that was in Denver, right? Got released, is in Pittsburgh now. He's had the longevity of a career and has had a lot of success. Russell Wilson, right? 1-time Super Bowl champ. He's been a 9-time Pro Bowler, 1-time second-team All-Pro, and he's top 20 in passing yards all time.
Yep.
If his career ended today, would Russell Wilson be a Hall of Famer?
I'd have to take a look at all the other Hall of Famers and look side by side. I mean, it feels like a Hall of Fame type career. I think maybe one more Super Bowl win would put him in there. He'd have a bust for sure, but he's definitely a guy that you would see on a list every year when it comes time to vote for the Hall of Fame, in my opinion.
I don't think he's a Hall of Famer. I just don't.
If he went,
I'm with you. I'll explain why.
Because also, I think you're going to have this group of quarterbacks that just retired that's going to kind of log jam
Yep.
the quarterback position, and I think he's behind.
I always forget about that.
You know.
Yeah, you got to think like the Matt Ryans, the Phillip Rivers,
Matt Stafford,
right? Drew Brees, because Drew Brees.
I think he's even behind like Eli Manning.
Matt Stafford.
If we're talking about Eli Manning being like a fringe guy,
yeah,
Russell Wilson's behind Eli.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's the thing. People are saying Eli's a fringe guy and he's a 2-time Super Bowl champ.
Yeah.
But when you look at his statistics, he's top 11 in passing yards all time. So it's just like, I don't think people have done the research because, yes, when he won those Super Bowls, kind of was led by the defense. But there was a span of like 5 to 7 years where the Giants team was led by its offense.
Yeah.
And Eli was throwing the ball around the yard, right? So people tend to forget that as well. So.
Hey, his defense didn't break that sack and complete that pass over the middle of the field. You know
Correct.
what I'm saying? And beat Tom Brady and the undefeated
100%.
Patriots.
I mean, he probably has 2 of the biggest throws in Super Bowl history. That's not me just saying that. Like the one to Manning on the sideline, Mario Manningham, and then the one, obviously, to David Tyree. Yeah. This is an interesting one because me and Kyle were having a side conversation. Matt Stafford, right? When you look at it, he's a Super Bowl champ, only a 2-time Pro Bowler, right? No All-Pros.
Which is absolute
insane.
Dog water.
Now, we'll go back to this. When we were talking about Russell Wilson's 9, a lot of those, he wasn't voting in as a Pro Bowl. He went as an alternate. So you have to put that in the conversation.
I think a quarterback specifically, all pros, probably a little bit more.
More prestigious. But I was going to say, Russell does have 1 second-team All-Pro. Matt Stafford is top 10 in NFL passing yards in NFL history.
All time. Most pass yards per game in the playoffs all time, I think, as well. And also, you bring up the Pro Bowl thing. I got an older brother named Chris, and a lot of you guys know him. Obviously, Leger and Mike know him. He played in St. Louis for the first, I think it was 8 years of his career until the St. Louis Rams moved to Los Angeles. And he was released at the end because of an injury. And he had like 80 sacks in St. Louis on a team that never had a lead, that never had more than like 4 wins a year. That's an astronomical number. And the guy never made a Pro Bowl. Like Matt Stafford playing in Detroit, a smaller market relative to the other ones in division. It's tough to be able to garner that kind of national attention and that kind of appreciation. So I throw out all the Pro Bowl numbers, particularly for guys who were on bad teams for a number of years. Because we saw Matt Stafford go out there and compete and break records and be prolific year in, year out. And then when we see him on a good team, Super Bowl
you get a ring.
So, I mean, I'm not going to hold the Pro Bowl numbers against a guy like Matt Stafford. The things that I do weigh heavily in this conversation are production, and you said it there. He's top 10 in yards all time. I'm sure touchdowns. And then I just think his style of play transcends generations. He's so fucking tough. He's such a gamer. He's such a baller. He's of that old school. So I love Matt Stafford. I'd put him in the Hall.
I think he has a better argument right now than Russell Wilson. I think at this very moment in time, I would be iffy. I think ultimately he will, though,
eventually,
because he plays 2 more years. He's going to be top 5 all-time passing yards.
Right.
If it's 2 more years, stays healthy, he'll be top 5 all-time passing yards. At that point, difficult to keep him out.
Yeah.
And he's still got the arm talent.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's throwing it through the snow like it was
he doesn't
nothing.
Need copper fit.
I thought he was. I like what you did. I honestly, I thought he was going to struggle in that game weather-wise because his history has shown he had struggled, but I mean, the weather didn't affect him throwing the football at all this past weekend versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So still top tier arm. Obviously doesn't have the mobility that he used to have, but he can still spin it with the best of them. So I'm like you. I think eventually he will get in. I just, like to Mike's point, there's going to be a log jam at quarterbacks these next couple of years. So it's going to take him probably a while to get in. This next one's very interesting, right? Because when I say the name, people are probably going to automatically say, no way. But then I'm going to read you some stats. Joe Flacco, Super Bowl champ, Super Bowl MVP, most career passing yards and passing touchdowns for a guy that's never been to the Pro Bowl, right? But he's also top 20 in passing in NFL all-time history. So Flacco's career ended. Would he somewhere down the line potentially get into the Hall of Fame?
Gosh.
No. This one's just like firm.
See, that's what I'm saying. People will say no, but then when you look at Russell Wilson, it's very comparable.
This is like cilantro. Some people just love it. Some people can't stand it.
Correct.
Tastes like soap to some people.
I think the lack of Pro Bowl is almost like a non-starter. And I said it didn't matter as much as all pro.
That's what I'm saying.
Like he didn't have either, right? He has none.
And he was in a good team.
I mean, he was might have one to turn one down.
Yeah. So I do think that ultimately, no. That was
Joe Flacco, though.
Yeah, I always find that conversation interesting because I believe Russell Wilson's 17 in passing yards and he's 18 all time. So I was just like,
I think the next guy goes in tomorrow, just like Patrick.
Oh, 100%. That's why I wanted to ask you guys. Lamar Jackson,
Yep.
Yeah,
right? Two-time, potential 3-time MVP, right? He did something this season that nobody's ever done in NFL history. 4,000 plus passing yards, over 800 rushing yards, 40 plus passing touchdowns with fewer than 5 interceptions. And just for some context for people to say that he wouldn't go in tomorrow, let's just read off the list. I can't read off the list. Everybody that's been a multiple-time MVP is in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
Besides Brady and Mahomes and Rodgers, who will be in the Hall of Fame, right? So, like, that alone lets you know that Lamar Jackson is getting to the Hall of Fame tomorrow. So I thought that was an interesting one because people would say, nah, I don't. But it's like, bro,
he changed the way that our game is played.
Correct.
He changed the way that defenses
transcended in the NFL. Yeah.
He changes the eye line of every defender on the field. And yeah, he's a rule breaker. We talk about exceptions. He's the exception to the rule, man.
Yep, 100%. This next one,
his bust is going to look awesome.
No question. You think they're going to show
the grill?
Yeah.
How are they going to make it shine?
That's a good question. Maybe put like little divots in it.
Yeah. Get that man some ice.
Yeah, for sure. Josh Allen. He's been a second-team All-Pro twice. No MVPs though. So Josh Allen's career ended today.
Josh Allen's got a little bit more work to do.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
I agree with that. What do you think, Mike?
Yeah,
but he's on the right track.
At this point, he hasn't quite, because accolades still matter for Hall of Fame voting, like it or not. And same draft class as Lamar, but he started a lot slower than Lamar did. Years 2 and 3 for Josh were like
tough.
Not nearly as good as years 2 and 3 for Lamar. So he was behind from that. He's caught up at this point, obviously, with them neck and neck in MVP voting. But I mean, it's probably like he either needs a ring or
at least two
or 3 more years.
Yeah.
Like a few more years at this level of
one
play
MVP.
Yeah,
I was like, I think you would have to get an MVP too to get in there right now. And this last one, Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, this is interesting.
4-time Pro Bowler, right outside of top 20 in passing yards. What do you think? Mike said no. Nah.
We still got to set the bar high. I know it's a quarterback position. They get all their other awards gifted to them and all the headlines and all that. But like, we got guys who are top 10 in the NFL in receiving yards all time. Steve Smith Sr., Reggie White.
It's a travesty it's a travesty that Steve Smith isn't in there.
So if you're outside the top 20 in passing yards, even outside the top 10 right now, that's why I balk at Matt Stafford, even though he's 11th. It's just like, it's the Hall of Fame. It's not just you were very good for a long time. It's you were different.
It's the elite.
I have a hot take about the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio.
Yeah.
Okay.
Let me clear my throat for this one.
Yeah.
So my dad's in it. His bust is awesome. Looks just like him. I think that every single Hall of Famer should not only have a bust, but they should have the full body.
Ooh.
Exact height.
They probably run out of space.
You know what? Knock a wall down and make a room and line them up I just think it would be for a young kid getting an opportunity to go to Canton, Ohio.
To see the sheer size.
When I was
That would be
11, when I was
amazing.
11 or 12, I went there for my dad's induction in 2001. He went in with Ronnie Lott, Joe Montana, with Rooney from the
Yeah, we had a
Steelers.
class.
Yeah, it was a good class. And Dave Wilcox, who was an Oregon man. But at the end of the day, I remember like I'd close my eyes at night for like 3 months afterwards, and I'd just picture these legendary heads, faces. Imagine the awe that I would be in, or any of us would be in as kids, walking up and seeing, Jonathan Ogden,
Man.
in bronze.
What they could do, though, I mean, with AI and technology as it is,
Yeah, I was going to say.
They could almost do holograms.
That's what I was thinking.
and how, because I do think seeing like how big guys were for a kid,
Put things into perspective.
yes.
Yeah.
Is that
Like people watch Brian Urlacher play, but they don't realize that he's 6'5",
Yeah.
255
Massive.
pounds.
Yeah.
Jim Brown.
Are you kidding me, dude? And then you'd see a guy like Barry Sanders or Steve Smith made me think of it. I was like, well, they have space for Steve Smith. It's not
Oh, my God.
you can't fit him in the building. But yeah, Hall of Famer Steve Smith. So I don't get beat up, Steve.
He played at 6'5".
Senior.
Yeah.
See, you gotta say that. Gotta say that. He definitely played at 6'5". But yeah, I thought that was an interesting conversation. Just if some of these current quarterbacks' careers ended, like how many would actually be in the Hall of Fame right now? So we counted 1, 2, obviously Rodgers, Mahomes.
3, Jackson.
Those 3 are automatic. We all agree, right? Those 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then like borderline, Russell Wilson, Matt Stafford, and I guess Josh Allen has some
And if you were to
work
have to
do.
power rank those, I would go Stafford, Allen, Wilson.
Really?
Yeah.
I think you have to put Russell in front of Allen just because of body.
I'm
work so
projecting.
far.
I'm projecting. Down the
Yeah,
road.
but you just never know what happens in the future.
Yeah. Russell goes to Vegas and lights it up.
I mean, Russ plays a couple more years. He can find his way in that top 15, top 10 passing yards.